Hi, sixth grade. So today we are going to utilize what we have learned about ratios and proportions along with percent to calculate discount, tax, and tip. So our steps for discount, if you'll think about when you get a discount on something, it takes money away from the original price. So that means we're going to be subtracting. Discount is always going to lower our price. A tax or a tip will increase your price because tip is something that you pay on top of your original amount, and a sales tax is also on top of your original account. So over here you can see our steps. We're going to calculate what the amount would be based on the percent of the original price. And then for discount, we're going to subtract that amount from our original price. And for tax and tip, we're going to add to our original price. So, as far as a review of our information, of our vocabulary, it's important to remember that a ratio is a comparison of two quantities. And when we have ratios that are equivalent, those are called proportions. And we can use a proportion when we set those two ratios equivalent to each other. We can cross multiply to solve for any unknown value. And then in percent, we can set up that proportion using the setup part to whole is equivalent to percent out of 100, because 100 is the whole amount of percent, and any part of that is considered to be the percent amount. So part over whole for both scenarios, okay? So let's go to our first example. The first example says a DVD that sells for $15 is marked 10% off. What is the discount? What is the sale price of the DVD? Now notice there are two question marks because there are two questions. Sometimes these two questions are combined into one sentence, so you would only have one question mark, but it's always important to ask yourself, okay, how many questions am I answering here? Because that can change how thorough your answer is. Now, before we can find our new price, we have to see how much of $15 will be taken off if it is 10% off. So we're going to use part to whole is equal to percent over 100. Remember, every time you see a percent question, discount, tax, tip, you're going to automatically write this down. Part to whole is equal to percent over 100, or out of 100. In this case, our entire amount is $15 because that's what the DVD cost in its original price. So that's the whole price. Then our percent is 10%, and a percent is always out of 100. Okay, so I set my problem up. X is what we're looking for because we don't know how much off from 15 is 10%. So I put 10 in my percent, I put 15 where the whole is. Now, because this is a proportion, the ratios are equivalent, I can cross multiply to solve for the X. So I cross multiply and I have 10 times 15 is 150, and X times 100 is 100x. I am solving the equation to get x by itself, so I'm going to use the inverse operation of division to divide by 100. So I get x is equal to 1/50. Now, you can remember back to 5th grade when we talked about multiplying and dividing by powers of 10, because we are dividing by 100. That just means we're going to move that decimal 2 places to the left, and we get our answer. This is the answer of what is the actual amount of the discount. The discount itself is $1.50. Now, the second part of the question says, okay, well, what is the new amount now? Because it is a discount, we are subtracting $1.50 from the original price, which is 15. So here, in order to calculate my new price, I'm going to take $15 and subtract $1.50, and I get $13.50. This is my new price once I have solved for the discount. Some questions will ask you only for the new price, but some questions will only ask you about what the discount would be itself. So you have to make sure you're listening for those. The only difference in tax, tip, and discount is whether you add or subtract the amount that you find. In discount, you're taking it away. In tax and tip, you're going to add it. So we're going to do the same scenario. If you'll look, everything in the purple and blue is the same setup. The difference comes only in the price, and that's referred to over here where we subtract for a discount and we add for tax or tip. Now, here's example 2. Darren ate breakfast at a restaurant. The bill came to $71. Now pause. I don't know if Darren took his whole family or he ate at a really expensive restaurant, but his bill came to $71. If he left an 18% tip, how much would the tip be and what would the new price be that he's going to pay? So, because it's a percent question, I'm going to start with part to whole is equal to percent out of 100. The percent that I'm looking for is I'm looking for 18% of $71. That's really the question that's being asked. What is 18% of $71? So I put 18 in the place for percent. 71 is my entire bill, and I'm looking for what would the part be? What would the 18% of the 100, the whole, be? Okay? Remember that anytime we're dealing with ratios or proportions, the order in which we write our relationship is so critical. So the part has to go in the numerator all the way across the problem. The whole has to be in the denominator all the way across the problem. To solve the proportion now, I'm going to cross multiply. So I have 100 times x will be equivalent to 100x, and 71 times 18 is 1,278. Now I'm going to use the inverse operation or the opposite operation to solve for x, and so I'm going to divide by 100, and again that same rule applies. When we divide by a power of 10, we move to the left, we move that decimal to the left, and now we're going to get $12.78. This is the amount of the tip only. Now, in order to get my new price, I'm going to add my tip to the original price. So my new price will now be $83.78. So in all of these problems, discount, tax, and tip, you are going to use what you know about percent. The part to whole is equal to percent over 100 to calculate what the discount, tax, or tip would be. And then for discount, you're going to subtract that amount from the original price, and for tax and tip, you will add it. All right, I hope this helps.